Okay, so Labna, it's the day after the conference. What was the name of the conference?
Egypt's first conference.
Egypt's first conference. Okay, the new Egypt, right? Yeah. And you were there and had very strong opinions about it. What do you think? What's your opinion of the conference?
It wasn't extremely bad, but for me it wasn't really successful. On one side, I have issues with a lot of the suggestions that were suggested there. A lot of the papers were suggested had stuff that I think should not be there after the revolution.
Like what concretely?
Like the Constitution, Tahini Gibeli had a suggestion for the Constitution that voting system will be equal for everybody, but would be dependent on how educated you are.
Weighted voting.
Weighted voted.
So the more educated you are, the greater vote, or the less educated, the lesser vote you get.
Yeah. It's like your vote counts like half a vote or something like that.
And it was a Supreme Court judge that was talking about.
She's not a Supreme Court judge. She's a High Court judge.
Okay.
Different than Supreme Court judge. But yeah, she's and she's considered now a revolutionary, even though she had connections with Susan Mubarak, really strong connections. And generally the conference wasn't really tactical. There was nothing concrete. There's nothing. The whole thing was just speeches after speeches, and there was nothing this is the plan, this is what we're going to do. And it seemed to me like it's basically saying that our issue is with the Islamists and the government. That we don't have other issues in the country. We don't have economic issues. We don't have social justice issues. We don't have fights actually with some of the people who were with us in the conference. For example, Sawiris was there. Some of the workers who are striking against Sawiris.
So Sawiris was the organizer of the conference, or
he wasn't the organizer.
He helped fund it.
I don't know if he helped fund it or not, but he was one of the people.
Even he did. Because Mamdouh had the whole weight of the money.
Not all of it, but most of it. Some other people actually.
They asked him for.
So some of the people involved with the conference were actually having people strike against their businesses, and they were against the strikers. Right.
I mean, for me, it's okay to have a liberal conference, but I'm not a liberal. So basically,
how would you define yourself?
I consider myself an anarchist, so I don't think this is the best person to be in a conference anyway. But
anarchist, you said.
Yeah.
Okay.
So basically, the conference was basically very liberal. For me and for many of the people who were attending, other leftists who were attending.
And what was missing? What issues did you were telling me before there were certain issues you were demanding, you and the people, the groups you were working with were demanding should be talked about?
We were pushing for them to have a critique of the military tribunals, a clear critique of it, and we got it in the end. We wanted a critique of the new law that was passed criminalizing protests and strikes.
In other words, against that law.
Against that law, and saying clear statement against it, saying that it should be put off the book today. I mean, and this didn't happen actually, the second one. But generally it wasn't good, it wasn't bad. It was kind of I don't know what's the next step, what they're planning to do. I'm gonna see if there's another conference, if there's another day that is a clear plan, if they fix a lot of the stuff that was suggested that we had critiques on. So we're gonna see what's going to happen.
Yes. And the military tribunals, what was the critique that was offered?
What they wanted to offer was that no military tribunals for activists, not for civilians generally, saying that, for example, people out of the thugs should be put in military tribunals. For us, we said no. It's a general thing, not only the people that we know that they are activists, but people who are actually picked up in the streets randomly.
And why?
Because we know the people who are actually arrested. We know, we went to talk to their families, we know the kind of people. Mostly actually they're not thugs.
Right.
They would accuse anybody of being a thug, including our friend that we know pretty well, Ali Subhi, who's a friend and an actor. We knew pretty well he's not a thug, but they had photos of him with weapons around him. And then they released him when we had a campaign for him. So it's
and so your position is no civilians should be tried in military courts.
Yes.
And why? Why is it? What's wrong with military courts?
First of all, military courts are for military personnel, not for people. It's against the Constitution, the old Constitution even, it's against it.
Yeah.
And in the other hand, it's actually ridiculous. The kind of trials they have, it's ridiculous. There's no access to their lawyers. Lawyers are not allowed in. the sentencing happened in 2 days after they're arrested. They are sentenced randomly to crazy sentencing like 7 years and 5 years for being after the curfew, in the streets after the curfew. It's ridiculous. And the conditions they live in prison are insane. And there's no...
What are the conditions?
Actually, there was like huge fights between... Prisons are now overcrowded because there's all these people, like thousands of people they're arresting and putting in prisons, and prisons are not equipped for that, so they're overcrowded. So prisons had like kind of a strike, or kind of like a rebellion.
Yes.
And the guards fired at them, killed some people, and since then they're treating them really badly. They don't have steady access to water and food. They are forced to stay naked in a like room full of water. It's crazy. It's like torture all over again. Plus that actually the army in the museum, the Egyptian museum, they tortured people. They tortured men, and they had like, and they tortured women too, but they had virginity tests for women. I mean, it was insane.
Virginity tests, right?
Yeah, and they said they're gonna review that. When we had a campaign against it, they said they're gonna review the case, and they did not. Everything they said, like the Parliamentary Council said they're going to do, they did not. And there's no way to, how do you call it? To review the case. There's no legal way to go to a higher court to say, okay, I want to...
No right to appeal.
The appeal, exactly. They don't have appeal rights. You can say, oh, I don't like the case, the ruling, can you guys review it? But they don't have legal ways, they don't have an obligation to go through another court, another judge, another like... I mean, it's ridiculous. The whole thing is ridiculous. And actually, through the people I met, including people that I know pretty well, and I was there when they were arrested, most the charges are made up. They just like arrest people, beat them up, and take some weapons and put them in front of them and take a photo of them. Oh, they're thugs. Yeah, they're beaten up. They look like thugs, which is extremely something really classist that's used in the street against like people who are actually poor who are being arrested.
Okay. And how old are you?
I'm 25.
25. Okay, and you're a student or a graduate student?
Yeah.